You know it's going to be a bad New Year's Eve when your wife spends 3 hours getting ready for a party in your own house, and she won't even look at you while she does it. I'm Owen Barlow, 36 years old, IT project manager for a mid-sized consulting firm, and I should have seen what was coming. But hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? Nina stood in front of our bedroom mirror, adjusting a black dress I'd never seen before. The price tag was still tucked under the arm. $250, on a real estate photographer's salary. My salary, technically, since hers barely covered her car payment. New dress? I asked, leaning against the door frame. She didn't turn around. Angie picked it out. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Angie Morrison, Nina's best friend since college. The kind of woman who measured her worth by how many men looked at her when she walked into a room. She'd been filling Nina's head with poison for months now, telling her she was settling for suburban life, that she deserved better than a computer nerd who worked from home in sweatpants. "It's nice," I said, meaning it. Nina was beautiful, always had been. Blonde hair that caught light like spun gold, green eyes that used to look at me like I hung the moon. Now they looked at me like I was something she'd stepped in. "Don't wait up," she said, finally turning around. "This party might run late." "It's our party, Nina. In our house." She shrugged and walked past me, her perfume hitting me like a slap. Something new and expensive, not the vanilla scent I'd bought her for Christmas, still sitting unopened on her dresser. By 8 o'clock, our modest colonial was packed with people I barely knew. Nina's work friends, neighbors we'd never spoken to, and Angie's crew of divorced real estate agents who treated every social gathering like a hunting expedition. I played bartender, mixing drinks and making small talk, watching my wife work the room like she was campaigning for something. That's when I noticed him. Trent Malloy lived 3 houses down, in the big colonial with the perfect lawn and the landscaping truck parked in the driveway. 6'2", broad shoulders, the kind of tan you get from working outside all day. He'd moved in 6 months ago with his fiancée, Laurel, a sweet social worker who baked cookies for the neighborhood kids. But Laurel wasn't here tonight. Just Trent, nursing a beer and watching my wife like she was the only woman in the room. "Great party," he said, when I handed him a fresh beer. His voice had that rough edge that women seem to love. "Nina really knows how to throw a bash." "She's got a gift," I replied, watching Nina laugh at something Angie was whispering in her ear. Both women glanced over at Trent, then back at each other, giggling like teenagers. The night got worse from there. I watched from the kitchen as Nina and Trent found excuses to talk. She'd touch his arm when she laughed. He'd lean in close when she spoke, his hand resting on the small of her back. My friends from work, the few who'd shown up, started giving me pitying looks and making early exits. "You okay, man?" Tony Ricci, my closest friend at the office, appeared at my elbow. "You look like you're about to punch someone." "Just tired," I lied. "Long year." "Yeah, well, it's about to get longer." He nodded toward the living room, where someone had dimmed the lights and turned up the music. "Midnight's coming." I should have gone to bed, should have locked myself in my office and pretended none of this was happening. Instead, I grabbed a bottle of champagne and joined the countdown. 10, 9, 8. Nina was standing next to Trent now, close enough that I could see her hand brushing against his. 7, 6, 5. She looked over at me, and for a moment I thought I saw something like guilt in her eyes. 4, 3, 2. Then she turned to Trent, rose up on her tiptoes and kissed him. Not a friendly New Year's peck, a real kiss, the kind she used to give me when we were dating, when she couldn't wait to get me alone. 1. Happy New Year! The room erupted in cheers and noisemakers, but all I could hear was the sound of my world crashing down. Nina pulled back from Trent, her lipstick smeared, her eyes bright with something I hadn't seen in months. Excitement, lust, Life. She looked at me across the room and her expression didn't change. No shame, no apology. Just a cold, calculating look that said everything I needed to know. "Happy New Year, Owen," she called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Maybe this year you'll finally grow a pair." The room went quiet. Someone's phone was recording. I could see the red light in my peripheral vision. Angie was smirking. Trent looked uncomfortable for about half a second before Nina grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the stairs. "Party's over," I announced, my voice surprisingly steady. "Everyone out." It took 20 minutes to clear the house. Tony stayed to help clean up, shooting worried glances at the ceiling where we could hear Nina and Trent moving around in my bedroom. My bedroom. "You want me to call someone?" Tony asked. "My cousin Vinny could be here in an hour." "No." I picked up empty bottles with mechanical precision. "No violence. That's not how this ends." "How does it end?" I looked up at the ceiling, where something heavy had just hit the floor. Probably my reading chair, the one Nina always complained about. With me winning. Tony left around 2 in the morning. Nina and Trent had gone quiet an hour earlier, probably passed out drunk in my bed. I sat in my office staring at my computer screen, thinking about everything I'd lost and everything I was about to gain. People always underestimate the quiet guy, the computer nerd who fixes their printers and sets up their Wi-Fi. They think we're harmless, invisible, weak. They forget that we know things, we see things, we remember everything. I opened my laptop and got to work. Nina came downstairs at 11, wearing my old MIT t-shirt and nothing else, her hair a mess and her makeup smeared. She moved carefully, like someone with a serious hangover, and didn't look at me when she shuffled into the kitchen. I was sitting at the breakfast bar with my coffee and my tablet, reading the news like it was any other Sunday morning, like my wife hadn't just screwed another man in my bed while half the neighborhood watched. "Coffee's fresh," I said without looking up. She poured herself a cup with shaking hands. "Owen, about last night." "What about it?" "It was just the champagne, you know? I got carried away. It didn't mean anything." I took a sip of my coffee and scrolled to the next article. "Okay." She blinked. "Okay? If you say it didn't mean anything, then it didn't mean anything." The relief on her face was almost comical. She thought she was off the hook, thought she could gaslight me into believing my own eyes had lied to me. "I mean, everyone was drinking, and it's New Year's, and people do stupid things." "Nina." I looked up at her for the first time since she'd come downstairs. "It's fine, really." She smiled then, the same manipulative smile she'd been using on me for months. "You're the best, Owen. I knew you'd understand." "I understand perfectly." I turned my tablet around and showed her the screen. "I understand that you've been texting Trent for 3 months. I understand that you've been meeting him at the Marriott on Thursdays when you tell me you're doing property shoots. I understand that you've been planning to leave me since October." The color drained from her face. On the screen was her text thread with Trent, pulled from her laptop while she was in the shower. Dozens of messages, pictures I didn't want to think about, and a conversation from last week where they'd planned exactly what happened at the party. "Nina, Owen's such a pathetic loser. I can't wait to see his face when you kiss me at midnight." "Trent, you sure about this? Seems cruel." "Nina, he deserves it. Maybe it'll finally give him the balls to leave me alone." She grabbed for the tablet, but I pulled it back. "How did you—" "You used my Netflix password for your email. Same password you've had since college. Really, Nina, for someone who claims I'm the computer nerd, you're remarkably careless with technology." "You can't just go through my private messages." "Actually, I can. It's my laptop, my internet connection, and my house. Legally speaking, I can do whatever I want with data that passes through my network." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You're different." "No, I'm exactly the same. You just finally pushed me far enough to show you who I really am." I stood up and walked to the kitchen window, looking out at Trent's house. His landscaping truck was in the driveway, but Laurel's Honda was gone. Tell me, does Laurel know about your Thursday afternoon adventures? Owen, please. Does she know that her fiancé has been screwing my wife for 3 months? It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I turned back to her, and she actually took a step backward. You want to know what's going to happen now? She nodded, looking like a child caught stealing candy. First, I'm moving our savings into an account with only my name on it. All of it. Every penny. You can thank your Thursday afternoon texts for that. Turns out planning to take half my money and run off with the neighbor counts as intent to defraud. That's not legal. Actually, it is. I called my lawyer yesterday. Turns out adultery affects asset division in this state, especially when there's proof of premeditation. I held up the tablet. And I have plenty of proof. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret. Just cold, calculating satisfaction. Second, I'm changing all the passwords. Email, Netflix, Spotify, everything. You want internet access? You can pay for your own. Owen, you can't. Third, I'm sending copies of these messages to Laurel. She deserves to know what kind of man she's planning to marry. No! Nina lunged for the tablet again, but I was ready for her. I stepped aside and let her momentum carry her into the kitchen island. You can't do that to her. I'm not doing anything to her. You did it. You and Trent. I'm just making sure she knows the truth before she makes the biggest mistake of her life. Nina slumped against the counter, sobbing. Please, Owen. I'll end it. I'll never see him again. We can go to counseling, work this out. No, we can't. I walked past her toward the stairs. Because this isn't about saving our marriage, Nina. This is about making sure you understand that actions have consequences. What's that supposed to mean? I paused at the bottom of the stairs and looked back at her. She was still wearing my t-shirt, still trying to look vulnerable and innocent, but I could see the calculation behind her tears, the way she was already planning her next move. It means the nice guy is gone, Nina. You ruined him last night. What you're dealing with now is someone who has nothing left to lose and a very particular set of skills. I went upstairs to my office and locked the door behind me. Through the window, I could see Trent's house, quiet and peaceful in the Sunday morning sun. Laurel's car was still gone, probably at her sister's house, where she went every Sunday for family dinner. I opened my laptop and started typing. Dear Laurel, I hope you're having a nice Sunday with your family. I'm sorry to contact you this way, but there's something you need to know about Trent. By the time I finished the email and attached the screenshots, Nina had stopped crying downstairs. I could hear her on the phone, probably calling Angie to spin some story about how I'd lost my mind and invaded her privacy. Let her call. Let her spin. By tomorrow morning, everyone in town would know the truth, and Nina Morrison, she'd probably go back to her maiden name, would discover what it felt like to be the one everyone was talking about. I hit send and leaned back in my chair. Through the window, I saw Trent come out of his house to check his mail. He moved like a man without a care in the world, probably thinking he'd gotten away with something. That was about to change. My phone buzzed with a text from Tony. Dude, you okay? Saw the video from last night? Want me to come over? Video. Right. Someone had recorded Nina's little performance, probably already making the rounds on social media, tagged with our names and location. In a town this size, that meant everyone would see it by Monday morning. I texted back, I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. The gloves are off now. What does that mean? It means I'm done being the victim. Time to be the villain. I put my phone away and got back to work. I had emails to send, accounts to secure, and a reputation to destroy. Nina wanted drama? She was about to get more than she'd bargained for. The nice guy was gone. Long live the bastard. Monday morning brought the first real satisfaction I'd felt in months. I was in my office by 7, ostensibly working on a client project, but really monitoring my phone for the fallout from Sunday's email to Laurel. I didn't have to wait long. At 7:23 a.m., I heard shouting from the direction of Trent's house. I looked out my window to see Laurel standing in the driveway, still in her work clothes from the night shift at the crisis center, holding what looked like a printout of my email. Trent was following her around like a lost puppy, gesturing frantically. "It's not what you think." His voice carried clearly across the yards. "She's lying. She's trying to break us up." "She?" Laurel's voice was ice cold. "She didn't write these messages, Trent. You did. And she didn't take these pictures. You did." I'd included everything. The hotel receipts charged to Trent's credit card, the photos they'd sent each other, the messages planning their little New Year's Eve performance. 3 months of evidence that painted a very clear picture of two people who thought they were smarter than everyone around them. "Laurel, please, let me explain." "Explain what? How you've been screwing the neighbor's wife for 3 months? How you plan to humiliate her husband in front of the whole neighborhood? How you've been lying to my face every single day?" Trent tried to grab her arm, but she jerked away from him. "Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again." She threw something at him, her engagement ring, I realized, and got in her car. Trent stood in the driveway as she backed out, still trying to wave her down, but she didn't even look at him. One down. My phone rang, Nina, calling from downstairs. "What did you do?" she hissed when I answered. "Good morning to you too, sweetheart." "Laurel just left. Trent's been calling me, freaking out. What did you send her?" "The truth. I thought you'd appreciate that since you're always telling me how important honesty is in a relationship." "Owen, this is insane. You're destroying innocent people's lives." "Innocent?" I laughed, and it came out harsher than I'd intended. "Nina, you've been planning this for months. You wanted to humiliate me, take my money, and run off with the neighbor. The only thing I did was make sure everyone knows exactly who you really are. I never said I was taking your money." October 15th. Text message to Angie Morrison. Quote, "Owen's too stupid to hide his assets. I'll take him for everything he's worth and be in Cancun by Valentine's Day." End quote. Silence. "I have all of it, Nina. Every message, every photo, every lie you've told for the past 6 months. So before you call me insane, maybe you should look in the mirror and ask yourself how we got here." She hung up. Through the window, I watched Trent kick his mailbox hard enough to dent it, then storm back into his house. His perfect landscaping looked a little less perfect with the ring of ruined grass where Laurel had been spinning her tires in the driveway. I went back to work but kept one ear on the neighborhood drama. By 9 o'clock, I could hear Trent's phone ringing constantly. By 10, he was outside again, this time loading boxes into his truck. Looked like he was moving out, at least temporarily. At 11, my doorbell rang. I found Angie Morrison on my front step, wearing her real estate blazer and her best fake smile. She was holding a manila folder and trying to look professional, but I could see the anger in her eyes. "Owen, good morning. I hope you don't mind me stopping by, but I wanted to talk to you about this whole situation with Nina." "What about it?" "Well, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Nina's very upset, and I think if we could all just sit down and talk like adults." "No." Her smile faltered. "No? No misunderstanding. No sitting down. No talking like adults. Nina made her choice, and now she gets to live with the consequences." "Owen, you're being unreasonable. Marriage is about forgiveness, about working through problems. Marriage is about trust, Angie, and loyalty, and not screwing the neighbor while your husband pays your bills." "That's a very harsh way to put it. It's an accurate way to put it." I stepped closer, and she actually backed up a step. "Tell me, Angie, did you know about the affair?" "I don't know what you mean." I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a screenshot. September 23rd, text from Nina to you. "Trent and I are getting serious. I think I'm going to leave Owen soon." Your response, "Good for you, girl. You deserve better than that loser." Angie's face went white. "You can't just read private messages." "I can, and I did. So let's drop the innocent act, shall we? You knew about the affair. You encouraged it. You helped Nina plan it. which means you're just as responsible for what happens next. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled, and she took another step back. It means you might want to update your LinkedIn profile, Angie, because I sent copies of those messages to your broker this morning. Turns out encouraging clients to commit adultery and plan asset fraud isn't great for the company image. You didn't. I did, along with the screenshots of you helping Nina fake property shoot appointments so she could meet Trent at hotels. Amazing how much evidence people leave behind when they think they're smarter than everyone else. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked back to her car without another word. I watched her drive away, probably heading straight to her office to do damage control. 2 down. I spent the afternoon monitoring social media. The video from New Year's Eve was making the rounds on Facebook and Instagram, tagged with EU New Year's, shame, and cheating wife. The comments were brutal. Nina's friends from high school, people we hadn't seen in years, all weighing in with their opinions on her performance. By evening, I had 17 missed calls from Nina and 43 text messages ranging from apologetic to furious to desperate. I didn't respond to any of them. At 6 o'clock, I walked down to Murphy's Bar on Main Street. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else's business, and the bartender, Gina Murphy, had been serving gossip with drinks for 30 years. "Well, well," she said when I walked in, "if it isn't the man of the hour. Heard you had quite a party Saturday night." News travels fast. Honey, in this town, news travels at the speed of light. What can I get you? Whiskey, make it a double. She poured the drink and leaned against the bar. So what's the plan now? You filing for divorce? Eventually. First, I want to make sure everyone understands exactly what kind of people they're dealing with. And how you planning to do that? I took a sip of whiskey and looked around the bar. It was filling up with the usual Monday night crowd. Construction workers, office drones, and retired guys who had nothing better to do than drink beer and complain about their lives. Ever hear of social media, Gina? She laughed. Honey, I'm 65 years old. I barely know how to use the cash register. Well, let me tell you about the wonderful world of viral videos and public shaming. See, when someone records you making out with another man at your husband's New Year's party, that video tends to get shared. A lot. How much is a lot? I checked my phone. As of an hour ago, about 12,000 views on Facebook alone, plus whatever it's getting on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Gina whistled low. 12,000 people saw your wife kiss that landscaper? 12,000 and counting. Amazing how fast these things spread when they're really juicy. And you're okay with that? Having your business out there for everyone to see? I finished my whiskey and put a 20 on the bar. Gina, I spent 10 years being the nice guy, the understanding husband, the one who looked the other way when she came home late, who believed her stories about working weekends, who pretended not to notice when she started dressing up for trips to the grocery store. And now? Now I'm done being nice. Now it's time for everyone to see who Nina really is. And if that embarrasses me too, well, at least I'm not the one who cheated. I left the bar and walked home through the quiet neighborhood streets. Most of the houses were lit up with families having dinner, watching TV, living their normal lives. But Trent's house was dark except for a single light in the upstairs window, and I could see Nina pacing back and forth in our living room, probably still trying to figure out how to spin this disaster in her favor. She was about to learn that some things can't be spun. Some mistakes can't be fixed with tears and apologies and promises to do better. Some actions have consequences that last forever, and I was just getting started. Tuesday morning brought rain and the kind of gray January weather that makes everyone miserable. Perfect for what I had planned. I was in my office, supposedly working on a server migration project, when my phone rang. Tony's name appeared on the screen. You see the news? He asked without preamble. What news? Channel 8. They picked up the story about your wife, something about viral videos and public infidelity. They're calling it a modern cautionary tale about social media and marriage. I opened my laptop and found the story. There was Nina's face, a screenshot from the New Year's video, with the caption, "Local woman's affair goes viral." The reporter was a young blonde who looked barely old enough to drink, talking earnestly about the dangers of public displays of infidelity in the social media age. They interviewed some marriage counselor, Tony continued. Guy says this is what happens when people don't communicate in their relationships. Real deep stuff. Did they mention names? Just first names. But in a town this size, everyone knows who they're talking about. I scrolled through the comments on the news station's Facebook page. Hundreds of them, mostly from people I didn't recognize, all weighing in on Nina's behavior. The consensus was not favorable. "Owen," Tony said, his voice more serious now. "You sure you want to keep pushing this? I mean, she's getting destroyed out there." "She destroyed herself. I'm just making sure everyone sees it." "Yeah, but there's a difference between getting revenge and completely ruining someone's life." I thought about that for a moment, watching the rain streak down my office window. "You remember what you told me when Sarah cheated on you?" Tony's ex-wife had run off with her yoga instructor 3 years ago, taking half his savings and both kids. "That's different." "How?" "Sarah didn't... she wasn't as public about it. She at least had the decency to be discreet." "Right. She had the decency to lie to your face for 6 months while she planned her exit strategy. Nina couldn't even manage that much respect." "So this is about respect?" "This is about consequences, Tony. Nina wanted to humiliate me in front of the entire neighborhood. She wanted everyone to see what a pathetic loser her husband was. Well, now everyone gets to see what kind of person she is, too." I hung up and got back to work. By noon, I had 3 more calls from reporters wanting to interview me about my side of the story. I declined them all. The story was telling itself just fine without my help. At 1 o'clock, Nina came upstairs and knocked on my office door. "Owen, can we talk?" "We're talking now. Face to face, please." I opened the door. She looked terrible. Red eyes, no makeup, wearing the same clothes she'd had on yesterday. "What do you want, Nina?" "I want this to stop. The reporters, the social media posts, all of it. People are calling me horrible names. My mother saw the video. My boss is reconsidering my employment status." "Sounds like you're having a bad week." "This isn't funny, Owen. You're destroying my life." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just not protecting you from the consequences of your own choices anymore." She started crying again, but it felt calculated, performed. "Please. I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but this has gone too far." "Has it?" "Because from where I'm standing, this is exactly as far as it should have gone." "What do you want from me? You want me to grovel? Fine. I'm groveling. You want me to beg? I'm begging. Just make it stop." I looked at her for a long moment. This woman I'd loved for 10 years, who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my bank account, who'd promised to love and honor and cherish me. "I want you to understand something, Nina. For 10 years, I gave you everything. My love, my trust, my money, my future. I worked 60-hour weeks so you could chase your photography dreams. I supported you through 3 career changes and 2 failed businesses. I believed every lie you told me because I thought that's what love was." "Owen, I'm not finished. You took all of that, everything I gave you, and you threw it away for a guy with a landscaping truck and nice abs. You didn't just cheat on me, Nina. You planned it. You orchestrated it. You made it as public and humiliating as possible because you thought I was too weak to fight back." "I never said you were weak." "You didn't have to say it. You showed it. Every time you rolled your eyes when I tried to talk to you. Every time you made jokes about my job or my clothes or the way I spent my free time. Every time you made me feel like I should be grateful that someone like you would settle for someone like me." She was sobbing now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, just cold satisfaction. So no, Nina, I'm not going to make it stop. Because this isn't about revenge anymore. This is about making sure you never do this to anyone else. This is about making sure that when people see you coming, they know exactly what you're capable of. You're a monster, she whispered. No, I said, stepping back into my office. I'm just not your victim anymore. I closed the door and locked it behind me. Through the window, I could see Trent's house, still dark except for that single upstairs light. His landscaping truck hadn't moved in 2 days, and there were newspapers piling up in his driveway. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Laurel. Thank you for telling me the truth. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what was right in front of me. I texted back, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. You deserve better. We both do. I hope you find someone who appreciates what they have. I'm not looking for someone new. I'm just looking for peace. I understand. Take care of yourself, Owen. I put my phone away and went back to work. Outside, the rain was getting heavier, turning the January afternoon dark and cold. But for the first time in months, I felt warm. Nina was learning what it felt like to be the one everyone was talking about, the one everyone was judging, the one everyone pitied. And Trent was learning that actions have consequences, that you can't just take whatever you want without paying a price. As for me, I was learning something too. I was learning that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's just making sure the truth comes out and letting other people draw their own conclusions. The nice guy was gone. But maybe that wasn't such a bad thing after all. By Friday, the story had legs. Not just local news anymore, but regional coverage, and someone had created a hashtag, Dr. New Year's Revenge. The video had been viewed over 100,000 times, and there were think pieces about infidelity, social media, and the new public square of shame. I was famous in a way I'd never wanted to be, but Nina was infamous, which was exactly what she deserved. I was at Murphy's bar again, having become something of a regular since Monday, when Trent finally showed up. He looked rough. 5 days of beard, clothes that hadn't been washed, and the kind of hollow-eyed exhaustion that comes from not sleeping. He scanned the room until he spotted me at the bar, then walked over with the deliberate gait of a man who'd been drinking before he arrived. "You snake," he said, loud enough that the entire bar turned to look. "Evening, Trent. You look well. You destroyed my life. I sent your fiancé some text messages. You destroyed your own life." He grabbed my shoulder and spun me around on the bar stool. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Sitting here like some kind of victim while you ruin everyone around you. I'd be careful if I were you, Trent. This place has security cameras, and there are about 20 witnesses watching you assault me right now." "Assault?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You haven't seen assault yet." Gina appeared at the other end of the bar. "Trent Malloy, you take your hands off that man right now, or I'm calling the police." "Call them," Trent snarled. "I got nothing left to lose anyway." That was a mistake. A man with nothing to lose is dangerous, but a man who thinks he has nothing to lose is just stupid. I still had plenty to lose, which meant I was thinking clearly while Trent was running on pure emotion. "Where's Nina?" I asked conversationally. "What?" "Nina, your girlfriend, the woman you threw your life away for. Where is she?" His grip on my shoulder loosened slightly. We're taking a break." "A break?" I nodded sagely. "Let me guess. Once the camera showed up and the reporters started calling, she decided you weren't worth the trouble anymore." "Shut up." Can't say I blame her. I mean, what's the point of trading up if you're not actually trading up? You're unemployed, homeless, and nationally famous for being a homewrecker. Not exactly what she had in mind for her new life. "I said shut up!" He drew back his fist, which was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I slid off the bar stool and stepped to the side, letting his momentum carry him into the bar. His knuckles connected with the brass rail with a satisfying crack. "Gina, You might want to call 911, I said calmly. I think Trent just broke his hand. He was cradling his right hand against his chest, cursing and bleeding from where the rail had split his knuckles. The entire bar was staring now, and I could see at least 3 people recording with their phones. "You set me up," he gasped. "I defended myself. There's a difference." 2 of the regulars, both construction workers who'd been drinking since 5, stood up from their table. "You okay, Owen?" one of them asked. "I'm fine, thanks. Trent was just leaving." Like hell I was. But he was outnumbered and injured and even drunk. He wasn't stupid enough to take on half the bar. He stumbled toward the door, still clutching his hand. "This isn't over," he called back. "Yeah, it is," I replied. "You just don't know it yet." The police showed up 10 minutes later, took statements from everyone, and reviewed the security footage. Simple case of self-defense, they said. Trent had thrown the first punch, missed, and injured himself. They'd have a talk with him about harassment and public intoxication, but there wouldn't be any charges against me. I finished my drink and walked home through the cold January night. The neighborhood was quiet, most people inside watching TV or having dinner with their families, normal people living normal lives, not starring in viral videos or having public breakdowns in local bars. I envied them in a way, but I didn't regret what I'd done. Nina and Trent had made their choices, and now they were living with the consequences. That's how the world was supposed to work. My house was dark when I got home. Nina's car was gone from the driveway, and when I went inside, I could tell she'd been packing. Drawers left open, hangers scattered on the bedroom floor, half her clothes missing from the closet. There was a note on the kitchen counter, written in her careful script. "Owen, I'm staying at my sister's for a while. I think we both need space to figure out what comes next. I know you hate me right now, and maybe I deserve that. But this has to end sometime. We can't keep destroying each other forever. Nina." I crumpled up the note and threw it away. She still didn't get it. This wasn't about destroying each other. This was about making sure she understood that actions have consequences, that you can't just hurt people and walk away without paying a price. But she was right about one thing. It did have to end sometime. I went upstairs to my office and opened my laptop. Time to finish what Nina had started on New Year's Eve. Saturday morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. Today was the day everything came together. The day Nina learned that you can't just walk away from the wreckage you've created and expect everyone else to clean it up. I'd spent most of Friday night putting the finishing touches on my plan. It was elegant in its simplicity, devastating in its completeness, and absolutely legal. The kind of revenge that would make Machiavelli proud. At 9 o'clock, I drove to the offices of Morrison and Associates, the real estate firm where both Nina and Angie worked. The parking lot was mostly empty. Saturday wasn't a busy day for real estate, but I could see lights in a few of the offices. I walked into the lobby carrying a manila folder and wearing my best suit. The receptionist, a young woman I didn't recognize, looked up from her computer. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Mr. Morrison. I have some information about 2 of his agents that I think he'll want to see." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but trust me, he'll want to see this." She made a phone call, spoke quietly for a moment, then hung up. "He'll see you now. 3rd office on the right." James Morrison was a thin man in his 60s, with gray hair and the kind of expensive suit that suggested his real estate firm was doing very well. He stood up when I entered his office, extending his hand. "Mr. Barlow, isn't it? I'm sorry about all this business with Nina. Very unfortunate situation. That's actually why I'm here." I sat down and opened my folder. "I thought you should see some additional information about Nina's recent activities, and Angie's." I handed him a stack of printouts, text messages between Nina and Angie discussing how to fake property appointments, photos of Nina at hotels during work hours when she was supposed to be doing shoots, credit card receipts showing Angie had helped arrange and pay for some of these meetings. Morrison's face grew darker as he read. This is very serious. If they were using company resources to facilitate personal relationships, it gets worse. I handed him another set of printouts. These are messages discussing clients. Apparently, Nina and Angie have been sharing confidential information about your clients' finances, making jokes about their personal lives, and in at least one case, Angie used inside information to steer a client away from a property she wanted for herself. Jesus Christ, Morrison looked up at me. Where did you get all this? Nina used my home computer for her email. Legally, anything that passed through my network is fair game, especially in a divorce proceeding. I thought you'd want to know what kind of people you had representing your company. Morrison was quiet for a long moment, reading through the messages. Finally, he looked up. Mr. Barlow, I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I can assure you that this matter will be dealt with immediately. I'm not looking for anyone to be fired, Mr. Morrison. I just thought you should know the truth. But we both knew what dealt with immediately meant. Nina and Angie had just lost their jobs. I left the real estate office and drove across town to my next stop, the offices of Channel 8 News. I'd called ahead and arranged to meet with Sarah Chen, the young reporter who'd been covering the story. Mr. Barlow, she said, standing up from her desk when I arrived. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us. I know this must be a difficult time. Actually, I'm doing quite well, but I thought it was time to set the record straight about a few things. We sat down in a small conference room, and she turned on her recording equipment. What would you like people to know? I'd like them to know that this isn't a story about a marriage that went wrong. This is a story about consequences. For months, my wife and her lover planned to humiliate me publicly. They thought I was too weak, too pathetic, too nice to fight back. They were wrong. Some people are saying you've gone too far, that the public shaming has been excessive. Some people have never had their spouse cheat on them in front of their entire neighborhood while someone recorded it for social media. Some people have never had to watch their friends and family see them get humiliated by the person they trusted most in the world. So, this is about revenge? This is about truth. Everything that's happened to Nina and Trent has been a direct result of their own actions. I didn't make them have an affair. I didn't make them plan to humiliate me at our New Year's party. I didn't make them lie to everyone around them for months. All I did was make sure people knew the truth. And now? Now they get to live with the consequences of their choices, just like everyone else. The interview aired that evening. By Sunday morning, it had been picked up by 3 other news stations and was trending on Twitter. The narrative had shifted from viral cheating video to man fights back against public humiliation. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. But the best part came Sunday afternoon when my doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Nina standing on my front step, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hair was unwashed, and she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt I'd never seen before. You got me fired, she said without preamble. No, your own behavior got you fired. I just made sure your boss knew about it. Same thing. Not even close. I stepped aside. You want to come in? Or are we doing this on the front porch for the neighbors to see? She came inside, looking around the house like she was seeing it for the first time. I'd cleaned up, rearranged some furniture, taken down most of the photos that included her. It looked like a different place already. I can't find another job, she said, sitting down on the couch. Everyone's seen the video. Everyone knows who I am. No one wants to hire the woman from the cheating wife story. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate? She stared at me. Owen, I'm ruined. My career is over. I can't even go to the grocery store without people staring at me and whispering. Welcome to my world from last week. This is different. How? Because you didn't do anything wrong. I sat down across from her, studying her face. She still didn't get it. Even now, even after everything that had happened, she still thought she was the victim. Nina, Do you remember what you said to me at the party? In front of everyone? I was drunk. You said maybe this year I'd finally grow a pair. You said it loud enough for everyone to hear while you were kissing another man in my living room. Do you remember that? She looked down at her hands. Yes. Well, congratulations. You got your wish. I grew a pair. This is what it looks like when the nice guy stops being nice. This isn't you, Owen. You're not cruel. You're not vindictive. You're right, I wasn't. But you changed that. You took the man who loved you, who would have done anything for you, who spent 10 years trying to make you happy, and you broke him. You ruined him as surely as if you'd put a gun to his head. I stood up and walked to the window. What you're dealing with now is someone who has nothing left to lose. Someone who's tired of being everyone's victim. Someone who's decided that if he's going down, he's taking everyone responsible with him. I never wanted to hurt you. Yes, you did. I turned back to face her. You wanted to hurt me so badly that I'd just give up and go away. You wanted me to be so humiliated, so broken, that I'd make the divorce easy for you. You thought if you destroyed me publicly, I'd just hand over half of everything I'd worked for and disappear. That's not true. It's exactly true. I have the messages to prove it. The ones where you and Angie planned this whole thing. The ones where you talked about how pathetic I was, how easy it would be to break me, how I'd probably just roll over and let you take whatever you wanted. She started crying again, but this time it felt real. Not performed, not calculated, just the genuine despair of someone who'd finally realized how completely they destroyed their own life. What do you want from me, Owen? What can I do to make this stop? I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who'd been the center of my world for 10 years, who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my future. I tried to feel something, anger, sadness, regret, anything. But there was nothing there, just cold, empty satisfaction. I don't want anything from you, Nina. I'm done wanting things from you. You made your choice, and now you get to live with it. Just like I have to live with mine. And what choice is that? The choice to stop being your victim. The choice to make sure everyone knows exactly who you are and what you're capable of. The choice to ensure that you never get the chance to do this to anyone else. She stood up, wiping her eyes. You've won, Owen. Is that what you want to hear? You've completely destroyed my life. I have no job, no friends, no future. Everyone in town thinks I'm a monster. Are you happy now? I walked to the front door and opened it. Nina, I haven't been happy in months. But for the first time since New Year's Eve, I'm not miserable either. And that's enough. She walked past me onto the front porch, then turned back. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just don't want to admit it. I'll fight the divorce. I'll make this as difficult as possible for you. With what lawyer? You're unemployed and unemployable. I have all the evidence of your affair, your fraud, and your plans to steal my assets. Any lawyer worth his fee will tell you to take whatever I'm willing to give you and count yourself lucky. She stared at me for a moment longer, then walked to her car. I watched her drive away, probably heading back to her sister's house, where she'd spend the next few months trying to figure out how to rebuild a life she'd destroyed with her own hands. I closed the door and went back to my office. Through the window, I could see Trent's house, still dark, still empty. Word around town was that he'd moved back in with his parents, 40 miles away, trying to find work in a place where no one knew his story. My phone buzzed with a text from Tony. Saw the interview. You okay? I texted back, better than okay. I'm free. And for the first time in months, that was actually true. I was free of Nina, free of her lies and manipulation and constant disappointment, free of Trent and his smug superiority, free of pretending to be someone I wasn't, someone weak and passive and grateful for scraps of affection. I was free to be exactly who I'd always been underneath the nice guy facade, smart, calculating, and absolutely ruthless when pushed too far. Nina had wanted me to grow a pair. Mission accomplished. Outside, the January sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems to solve, new battles to fight. But tonight, I was going to pour myself a drink, order some Chinese food, and enjoy the peace and quiet of a house that was finally, completely mine. The nice guy was gone. Long live the bastard.